The gambling regulator crisis has reached a point where the Labour Party is now in a position to demonstrate its superiority, which it's done by suspending Kevin Craig the moment it heard that there was a similar crisis there. He's the candidate for Central Suffolk and North Ipswich, and he put on a bet about him losing the election to become an MP, and this is rather like queering a football game. You don't bet against yourself. You don't put on a bet, I think, frankly, if you're in the business. It's simply wrong. And until the next government comes in and makes a clear rule, or indeed a law to that effect, I'm sure this is going to continue to be a problem. And it's that we don't know how badly this problem has spread. But it's not a problem that is exclusive to one party, as we now see. The problem which is exclusive to one party is the dithering and the desperation to hide the facts, which has been something that has dominated all the scandals that have occurred in the last 10 years in the Conservative Party. The effort to hide the information and to kick the can down the road. It comes across as dirty, scurrilous, and cowardly. And it comes across also as evidence of a party without control and without direction. Why are we surprised, given the fact that one of the prime ministers in this period was himself caught out lying in a grand way? I think two of the prime ministers were caught out lying. The other one was Theresa May, who was caught out lying about Windrush, though it was never reported as such. She passed the buck on to her successor in the Home Office, Amber Rudd, who took the fall for her. She took one for the team. Disgraceful behaviour on the part of Theresa May. But the rot set in soundly with Theresa May, and I think it was started by David Cameron, who should have remained in post after the referendum. His, again, cowardice at that point was one of the triggers for the drip, drip, drip of chaos that has followed the referendum vote. The referendum vote itself, while I would not ever concede that Brexit was a good thing, I am inclined to concede that in the hands of somebody with authority, Brexit could have been made to work. Brexit was placed in the hands of a twit, and she in turn placed it in the hands of Lord Frost. Eventually, it was placed in the hands of Boris Johnson. Get Brexit done! And we look around to see the result. The result is chaos. And as for the gambling issue, you've got 6 people in the Conservative Party, 1 person in the Labour Party now, who have all been fingered and identified. Or actually, not all of them. There's also the unnamed police officer. So it begins with William Craig, who's the first. William Craig and Laura Sutton, until last night, both Conservative candidates. Now, not. What a relief. Then there's Nick Mason, from a good background. I think he went to school with the Princess of Wales, or at least went to the same school as the Princess of Wales, and he was treasurer of the Oxford Union. You would have thought a man with that sort of background would be a figure of probity. But the questions about his actions hover around him like the dust of Philip Pullman's trilogy. Cling to him. It doesn't matter whether he did anything wrong. The suspicion is there. The suspicion has dominated this campaign. Dominated. And he must take responsibility for some of the failure. Whether he, as I say, whether he is guilty of doing this or not, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And then there's Tony Lee, who's the husband of Laura, who's, as I say, the candidate. And Tony Lee is the fellow in charge of the election campaign. So the Conservative Party has lost two of its main election campaign drivers, and it's now lost two of its candidates. Then last night there's news that Alistair Jack, the Scottish Secretary, put 3 bets on the election, the date of the election between March and April. No evidence of insider trading there, simply evidence of stupidity. And this is a senior minister. Russell George, on the other hand, who's a member of the Welsh Assembly, has indeed placed bets on the timing of the general election, and he has he has been censured for that. So it's a nest of squalor, and the only people who come out of this looking even remotely good are the Labour Party for taking decisive action and suspending Kevin Craig. But it suggests, as I indicated further, that this is a problem that goes beyond party divisions. This is about a disease of indifference to correct behaviour that has spread through the Westminster Parliament. It doesn't matter whether it was brought in by Theresa May or David Cameron or the Conservatives. It has spread because that's what evil does. That's what bad behaviour does. It spreads, and these are the people who are elected to high office, and they think that they are better than us. They think there's one rule for them and another rule for us, and they see everyone else doing it, and they think, maybe this is right. Maybe this is my last opportunity to make a quick buck. And it's the Labour Party says in suspending Craig, the Labour Party upholds the highest standards of our parliamentary candidates, as the public rightly expects from any party hoping to serve, which is why we have acted immediately in this case. And the party is due to return a £100,000 donation that it took from Craig last year. So Craig has said that he never thought he was going to win the seat, and he put a bet on the Tories to win here with the intention of giving any winnings to local charities. Well, of course he would say that, wouldn't he? As I say, it's squalid, and I don't think it's the end of it. I think this is going to potter on until the end of the election campaign, and I suspect there will be other scalps to be hung around the doorway before we get to July the 4th. It's just a matter of how the main parties deal with it now. But the die is cast, and the standard has now been set. I think anybody else who is fingered will be pretty quickly removed. But it's now about counting the numbers rather than oohing and ahhing at the association.